நம்முடைய தமிழ் மொழி உலகிலேயே மிகவும் தொன்மையான மொழி. எந்த தேசத்திடம் இருக்கின்றதோ அந்த தேசத்திடம் பெருமிதம் பொங்க வேண்டுமா கூடாதா சொல்லுங்க.
செம்மொழி வலையொலி யூடியூப் சேனல். இந்த சேனலின் மூலமாக, அந்த வலையொலியின் மூலமாக பல்வேறு தகவல்களை தினந்தோறும் நாங்கள் வழங்கி கொண்டிருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த நிலையில் சிலப்பதிகாரம் என்ற தலைப்பில் ஒவ்வொரு பகுதியாக வழங்கக்கூடிய அந்த தொகுப்பை முழுமையாக கண்டு பார்க்கலாம்.
The title of this paper is Destiny in Antigone and Silappathikaram. It is a comparative study of the great Greek tragedy Antigone and the Tamil epic Silappathikaram. It is not unreasonable to assume that Greece and Tamil Nadu, which had trade relations in the distant past, would have exchanged ideas, though it is now almost impossible to precisely define the nature of the impact of Greek and Tamil thought on each other, and to speculate on who borrowed from whom, even where we may identify striking similarities. In the Sangam works, there are references to the Indian contact and the goods imported from the West. The Ionians, who had their settlements in Tamil Nadu, called Yavanar Irukkai, like the one discovered at Arikamedu, might have introduced the words Orai, which means hour, and Mattigai, which means whip, into Tamil. Silappathikaram itself mentions to the sworded Yavana soldiers, strong, skilled in guarding the gates of the ramparts rising high. It is also said that the deadly weapons on the fortress of Madurai were similar to the ones Archimedes invented. It is a pity that when there had been so much of contact between the two great civilizations of the world, no convincing evidence of the Tamils' acquaintance with Greek literature can be traced now. Sophocles' Antigone was written in the 5th century BC, that golden age of truth and beauty which was Greece. Western poets, philosophers and scholars have hailed Antigone as the finest of Greek tragedies, as a work of art nearer to perfection than any other produced by the human spirit. To many of them, Sophocles remains the veritable summit of dramatic art, and the fact that Antigone has managed to live for more than 2 millennia through translations, adaptations and reworkings, inviting a plethora of critical articles and books, bears out the truth of the statement. It is the matchless myth that has germinated into the tragedy, the portrayal of the woman protagonist Antigone, the exquisite choral odes in the play, and Sophocles' vision of life that have immortalized it. Ilangovadigal's Silappathikaram does challenge a comparison with the best literary works of the world. If it cannot boast of so much of international acclaim, it is merely because the tragic epic is written in a language that does not enjoy the patronage and prestige of any of the Western tongues. Ilangovadigal's architectonic skill, the Olympian detachment with which he narrates the breathtaking events of the epic, the stylistic variations he adopts for the variety of incidents of the 30 sections of the epic, the subtle use of folk songs prevalent in his days, the prominence he has given the commoners, and the realistic portrayal of the life of the Tamils in the 2nd century CE can justly claim the highest praise due to a magnum opus. Though the two works, written at different times in two different languages, do not have strikingly similar plots, there are certain unmistakable resemblances which, when studied closely, yield fresh insights into the working of the minds of the two great artists as well as into the two societies they belong to. We do not come across many common occurrences. Antigone is the daughter of the accursed Oedipus, who unwittingly killed his father and married his own mother. Her two brothers, Eteocles and Polynices, quarrelled with each other. The latter was driven out, but returned to assault their own kingdom, Thebes. In the battle they killed each other, and Creon became king. When the play opens, he orders that Polynices should be left unburied on the battlefield as a traitor. Antigone cannot bear this insult to her dead brother, makes bold to bury him, and incurs the wrath of the king, who mercilessly decrees that she should be buried alive in a vault of stone, even though she happens to be his son Haman's bride. Tiresias, the blind prophet, warns the ruler that if he does not withdraw his orders, he will have to pay back corpse for corpse, flesh of your own flesh. When the chorus of old men, also supporting Tiresias, appeals to Creon to free Antigone from her vault and build a tomb for the body of Polynices, he gives in and rushes to bury the body. Meanwhile, Antigone makes a noose of her veil and hangs herself. Haman laments, lying beside her when Creon reaches him. But the son, after a vain attempt to strike his father, kills himself. His mother Eurydice, unable to bear the grief, stabs herself to death, cursing her husband. Creon's agony knows no bounds when he realizes that he had been rash and foolish. Though Silappathikaram deals with as serious and as tragic a happening as the Greek play, its final scene is not death crowded. Tragic endings being unpalatable to the Tamil temperament, the epic ends on a happy note. Kovalan meets with a cruel death, unjustly condemned by the Pandya king as a thief. His wife Kannagi wreaks vengeance upon the ruler and his capital by first revealing the folly of the king and then reducing the city to ashes by the power of her chastity. In the end, she is deified, and the Chera king builds a temple for her, while his brother enshrines her in an immortal epic. The encounter between Kannagi and the Pandya king reminds us of the Creon-Antigone clash, as the two scenes effectively symbolize the age-old conflict between the state and the individual. The two women characters, Kannagi and Antigone, have become archetypes, one of chastity and the other of sisterly love. Antigone, who sacrifices her life fighting for honorable burial for her brother, is praised as the most sisterly of souls, as the very incarnation of sisterhood. Shelley wrote to one of his friends, "You are right about Antigone. How sublime a picture of woman. Some of us have in a prior existence been in love with Antigone, and that makes us find no full content in any mortal tie." In the case of the Tamil heroine, Kannagi, the epic was written after the apotheosis had begun. The lyrical complaints of Antigone and Kannagi at the most tragic moment of their lives are heart-rending. When Antigone is to be entombed, she cries. This is Antigone's cry. "O thieves, O men many charioted, in love with fortune, dear springs of Dirce, sacred Theban grove, be witness for me, denied all pity, unjustly judged, and think a word of love for her whose path turns under dark earth, where there are no more tears, and yet, as men's hearts know, I have done no wrong. I have not sinned before God, or if I have, I shall know the truth in death." But she is unable to win the sympathy of Creon, and even the chorus feels that she is also partly to blame for what had happened to her. Kannagi's lamentations, on the other hand, move even the stoniest of hearts. "Pendirum undugal, konda kolunar, urukurai தாங்குரும் பெண்டிரும் உண்டுகொள், ஈன்ற குழவி எடுத்து வளர்க்குறும் சான்றோரும் உண்டுகொள், வைவாளின் தப்பிய மன்னவன் கூடலில் தெய்வமும் உண்டுகொள். Are there women with a mind that can stand their spouses' miseries? Are there women? Are there men ready to rear the infants born of others? Are there men? Are there gods in Kudal of the king whose sword did a cruel deed? Are there gods? Till the end, Antigone is not prepared to understand her opponent's point of view or plight, and unfortunately dies before the king repents his sinful deed. Her vengeful nature is freely displayed. She says, "But if the guilt lies upon Creon, who judged me, then I pray, may his punishments equal mine." We have to remember that anger and the desire for revenge were considered noble passions by the ancient Greek society. Kannagi also thirsts for revenge immediately after the murder of her husband. She is even proud of having caused the death of the Pandya king, and unmindful of the agony of Koparan Devi, the dying wife of the late king, mercilessly declares, "Pattangu yanumor patiniye amagil, ஒட்டேன் அரசோடு ஒழிப்பேன் மதுரையும் என் பட்டிமையும் காண்குருவாய் நீ." If in truth I am a woman chaste, I won't relent but raise Madurai with the monarch. You will witness my spirit vengeful. But at the end, when she makes her final appearance, she seems to have forgiven the king completely and accepted him as her father. தென்னவன் தீதிலன் தேவர்கோன் தன் கோயில் நல்விருந்து ஆயினான் Nan Avantan Mahal. The Pandya king is not guilty. In Indra's palace, a welcome guest he is. I am his daughter. Valluvar had already taught the Tamils that forgiving the enemy and forgetting the wrong done to one are far more commendable than planning revenge and harboring ill will. From the portrayal of these two women in two different cultural settings, we can draw certain valid inferences about the state of women in the ancient Greek and Tamil societies. Though little is known about the place of women in classical Greek sensibility, writers such as Aristotle and Thucydides have nothing but contempt for women's spirituality or aptness for public life. But Greek tragedies present a galaxy of women matchless for their truth and variety. The pictures of Clytemnestra, Electra, Antigone, Ismene, Hecuba, Andromache, Helen, Phaedra, Medea and Alcestis, all these reveal compassionate insights into the condition of womanhood. Perhaps the great Greek tragedies wanted to compensate for the injustice done to their women in everyday life. But we do get glimpses of the inferior position accorded to women in the Greek society. Ismene says, our own death would be if we should go against Creon and do what he has forbidden. She says, we are only women, we cannot fight with men, Antigone. When Haman pleads with Creon to spare the life of his bride Antigone, the king contemptuously dismisses the request. He tells his son, so you are right not to lose your head over this woman. Your pleasure with her would soon grow cold, Haman, and then you would have a hellcat in bed and elsewhere. Let her find her husband in hell. And he later proudly adds, if we must lose, let us lose to a man at least. Is a woman stronger than we are? Ilango Adigal's Tamil society must have been guilty of the same crime. In spite of the loud protests of enlightened souls like Thiruvalluvar, prostitution continued to flourish in the Tamil society, and the poets glorifying womanhood were perhaps giving expression to their guilt feelings or paying lip service to the cause of women. But Ilango Adigal's genuine concern is evident in his realistic representation of the treatment of women like Kannagi and Madhavi by Kovalan, supposed to be a cultured being. The wide prevalence of unchecked prostitution was a blot on both the societies which could boast of great women intellectuals at the dawn of civilization. The Greek society had already started permitting widow remarriage. A passage in Antigone, looked upon as a blemish by Gate, makes this clear. Antigone, justifying her fight on behalf of her brother, argues, a husband dead, another can be found, she says. A child replaced, but once a brother is lost, mother and father dead and buried too, no other brother can be born or grows again. But the Tamil society, which tolerated polygamy and prostitution, subjected the widows to inhuman cruelties. Koparundevi has to sulk in silence when her husband, ignoring her presence, looks longingly at the dancing women. Elango highlights the unfair discriminations when he describes the ending of the queen, that is the death of Kopperundevi. Kopperundevi குலைந்தனள் நடுங்கி கணவனை இழந்தோர்க்கு காட்டுவது இல்லென்று இணை அடி தொழுது வீழ்ந்தனலே மடமொழி. Stating that no substitute can be shown to a woman widowed, she fell down at the feet with folded hands.